Hello, thank you for joining us, Jeannie. I've been talking and realized that the time is now. Thank you for joining us for noontime gentle yoga. We're in the ACC's community room, and today's class is just a continuation of our hips and limbs that we've been sort of stretching and strengthening. And as usual with our practice, we start at the back of the mat. So I'll go ahead and start our music. Our audio hopefully will be okay, but we've got backup plans just in case this time. But as we arrive, just start to notice your breath. At the back of the mat, just standing with a gentle bend to the knees. Just notice how the air is flowing in and out of the nose, how the mat feels under the feet. And you'll start to observe other small signs of how you're arriving. And as we quiet down, we'll begin to cultivate our breath by placing our left palm on the chest, right palm under the navel. Just continue to breathe. Each inhale, imagine energy, air, just entering the body, finding length. Then with that exhale, as the air leaves the body, imagine any achiness, any tension leaving along with it. And as the breath becomes slower and the heart rate slows down, let's start to bring the sound of the ocean to the back of the throat on both the inhales and exhales. And as you connect to that yogic breath, the ocean breath, we'll start to bring movement and breath together. Let's go ahead and bring the hands down to the side, nice and relaxed. Finding how the feet feel in your mountain position. Let's go ahead and roll to the toes and to the heels gently. And then with the next inhale, just start to press into the feet. Firm up the legs. Feel energy drawing up the legs, the back, the neck, through to the crown of the head and beyond. At the exhale, imagine that same energy, reverse direction, through the body, through the legs, down to the mat. Firming up, rooting at the feet, at the core. With the next inhale, start to tip the weight towards the toes. Feel that center of gravity moving towards the toes. Nice long body. Stop at that edge. Use the next breath. Slowly tip the center of gravity towards the heels. See if you can use one breath as you go from heel to toe, just finding how the center of gravity changes subtly. And then we'll meet somewhere at the top of the ankle, back at center in our mountain. You can dip down into the mountain, inhale, a little longer in the legs, a little taller. And as we're lifting upwards through the crown of the head, go ahead and exhale, roll the weight towards the outer right edge of the feet. And then inhale all the way back up to center. Exhale over to the other side. Use this 3-part breath, or just breathe from side to side and use a 2-part breath. But find that horizontal mapping at the soles of the feet, the meet back at center once more. Reset the mountain if you need. You can always roll to the feet. You can lift the feet, reset, feet underneath the hip bones. And once more, inhaling nice and tall. We're going to find a little longer legs in our mountain, perhaps, but keep that bend if you need. And feel that string at the crown of the head lifting upwards. So all you have to do is start making small circles at the ankles. And as we're making small circles, imagine them widening out towards the perimeter of the feet. You can use other parts of the body to kind of deal with that change in gravity as you move in that circular fashion till you find the edge. Try to make the movement at the feet, and then we'll tighten in the circles and return to center, like water going down a drain. Go ahead and dip into the mountain once more. Inhale nice and tall, just a little longer, a little taller. Small circles now at the ankles in the opposite direction. Another path, but just a different direction. When you're done finding that perimeter edge, go ahead and tighten in the circles. We'll meet back at center once more. Go ahead and dip on in, lift a foot, lift the other foot if you have a tendency to grip the mat. Just release from this last pose. And now we'll be moving on to bringing a little more movement to the major joints here. And what we can start doing is keeping the feet about hips distance apart. We can widen them a little bit if you'd like. But as we start shifting the weight from side to side, feeling that center just changing slightly from left to right. And then we'll start to pivot at the shoulders, maybe even lifting at the heel as we go more towards one side. And as we're going in this kind of twisty fashion at the shoulders, we're going to slightly allow the heels to pivot, not bearing too much of our weight. We're really just turning at the soles of the feet, slightly at the heels, lifting up the balls of the feet. And pretty soon, those relaxed arms might just have enough momentum to gently tap along the inner pelvic hip area, maybe along your sacrum. If you're really getting that movement going, you might hit palms further along in that hip area. And then let the momentum peter out. Come on back down. Feel a little more movement in those regions. You can lift up the feet. Come on back to mountain. And if you feel stable in your balance, if you have tightness in the hip, be very gentle with your standing leg. We're going to inhale, keep a gentle bend to the right leg. Bring a little standing weight to that right leg. You don't have to completely stack all the joints, but see if you can lift the left heel. And as you're doing that, just make small circles. See how that feels around the ankle. You've given your ankle a little bit of movement, so you might have some more movement that you can give here and have that stability on that standing leg. In one direction and then the other. And move slowly. See what your range of movement is before you go bigger or stronger. And then let's go ahead and let that left foot land gently. Stabilize there. Bring a little standing weight there with a gentle bend to the left knee now. And lift the right heel. Just give yourself a little bit of space. You can move the position of the ball of the right foot. And just give yourself small circles at the hip, at the ankle, and then move that direction in the opposite. Move it to the opposite direction. And then let that heel gently land. Give yourself a gentle bend at the knees. Find that balance once more in our mountain, and we'll move on up the body. Go ahead and roll at the feet. Feel another mountain, maybe a little longer, a little stronger and taller. As we move on up towards the shoulder rolls, see if you can tuck under your tailbone. See if you can press into those feet, especially the big pads under the toes, under the big toe. The inner arches, nice contact, and the outer arches as well. Should have a nice even distribution of weight at the feet, closer to the heels, right above the ankles. And then see if you can just lean upwards. Just see if you can lengthen through the legs. Palms facing forward, hopefully the shoulders a little closer to being over the hips. Inhale, shoulders come up. Exhale, roll them back and let them melt down. At the bottom of the exhale, engage the core. See if you can tuck those bottom of the shoulder blades into the mid-back. Just that little tuck under. We're doing a total of 4 of these roll backs on the exhale. Inhales are always upwards with the shoulders. Let your yogic breath really help you facilitate the release. Energy in the body, energy released from the body. Now our second round, we're going to go ahead and inhale, shoulders come up. Exhale, roll them forward and down. Inhale, up. Exhale, forward and down. Notice if the center at the soles of the feet, if your foundation changes as you're moving through some of these exercises. Bring the balance back to the feet, back to the legs. And when we're done there, go ahead, lift the toes, heels, reset the mountain, and we'll be moving on up to the head, the neck. Nice and deep inhale here. We're rooting downwards with the legs and feeling that string at the crown of the head lifting upwards. The top of the inhale, exhale, just let the right ear dip towards the right shoulder. Another gentle inhale, feel the sternum lift, the chest. Exhale, turn the gaze if you haven't already. And at this point, palms should be facing forward. Go ahead and open up the shoulders once more. And for the next 4 breath cycles, I'm already at the 3rd perhaps. See if you can land the rightmost side, the vision on the rightmost side there at the very last exhale. And then you can bring the eyes, the gaze, the head completely back up with the inhale. So all you have to do is exhale over to the other side. Inhaling for lifting, energy in. Exhaling, turn the gaze and release. Hopefully as you're turning as well, notice that the shoulders, if one lifted as you go over to one side, bring it back into alignment with the counterpart. We want both sides of the body evenly supporting the body from the shoulders down to the feet. While you're releasing through the right side of the neck, deep ocean breaths. And after the very last exhale, go ahead and bring the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head lifting at the top of the inhale. So all you have to do is exhale. Let the eyes float to the top of the mat. Feeling rooted once more from the feet all the way up the legs, the spine, shoulders. The base of the neck is just at a slight tilt from the base of the skull. You have the crown of the head lifting with each inhale. And your core, you're rooting the center, nice and stable with each exhale. And after your last round, let's go ahead and inhale the eyes back up, past the midline, towards the ceiling. And when you can see somewhat above you, go ahead and stop craning the back of your neck. Feel nice and long at the front of the neck. Still have some space to the back. Give yourself the next 4 breath cycles. See if you can release tension in the jaw, in the tongue, maybe in the forehead, brow area. See if you're able to relax the eyes. And keep that center. Each breath in, good stability, a lifting there at the chest. Each exhale, stable rooting, release, hopefully, of any tension. And after the very last exhale, we'll go ahead and let the eyes float back towards the midline. Come back to mountain and shake out any residual activation of your body. See if it's in the feet, if it's in the legs, in the arms, in the neck. And we'll go ahead and start our folds so we can begin the walking meditation. So with the first one, if you need the blocks in your hands so that you can make the distance when we do our first fold, go ahead and bring the blocks to your hands, or you can leave them strategically placed. Anyhow, let's go ahead and stand in our mountain nice and tall. Vision is straight out in front of us, crown of the head lifting towards the ceiling, pressing down into the legs. Engage the core. Start to reach downward with the fingers. As we inhale, we can extend the arms upwards. And as we reach upwards, see if your torso can even lift, pressing down with the feet. Exhale, raising at the hips, slight bend to the knees if we need. Start to fold with the long back. Engaged core, slow fold. If you need to walk the hands down, go ahead and do that halfway down. But we just want to hinge at the hips, feel that hip to heel alignment, so you can feel that center of support right here at the feet. And allow the back, the arms, the neck, the head to just relax with each passing breath. We're here for about 5 breath cycles total. See if you can gently play with a little bit of the
center. Notice if you're tipping forward, bring a little weight more towards the heels. See if the outer or inner balance of the feet has transitioned. See if you can bring more balance. The center being more at the top of the ankles, near to the heels. Bend to the knees. Anything deeper to help relieve any tight back of the legs or even lower back. You can keep the forearms to the thighs, or you can just continue to let the chest get a little closer to the legs. Let the arms release. We're almost at that 5-breath cycle. If it takes a little longer or a little more, you can always hold on to the shins, to wherever you are. Now with the next inhale, we're going to do a slow roll up. Feel the core engage. Start stepping into the feet. Firm up the legs. Start to tuck under the pelvic bowl. You can use your hands if you need to start lifting up. With the inhale, slow roll up of each vertebra, one disc at a time, lengthening through the legs. As you open up, the crown of the head is the last to stack on the neck. Roll the shoulders back and down and feel that good rooting, that good grounding right there. Just a moment or two to let the blood rush back to the head. A second fold, we're going to reach downward with the fingers. Inhale, let those arms extend upwards, reaching all the way up at the top. Engage the core, bend the knees if you need, and hinge at the hips. Come on down with a straight back and walk the hands down or just float on down to another fold. This time it's a little shorter. In here, as you're in your fold, you can always give yourself some exploratory movements. See if you can bend one knee just a little more and then straighten it a little bit. See if you can do that alternately with the other one. Notice if you're relaxing a little more. Maybe you can reach down to the floor, down to the ankles, if you were a little higher up on the legs before. Now with the next inhale, we're also going to do another return to our mountain. You can do a slow roll up once more. Engaging the core, we're pressing into the feet, walking the hands up as we need. Or with that inhale, come up with a straight back, but engaged core all the way. Tucking under the tailbone as you pass that half mark and just lengthening all the way up. Exhale, hands down, heart center. We'll start our walking meditation. Pressing into the palms, bringing standing weight to the left leg. Bend the knee slightly if you need, but lift the right foot, hover it there for a moment, and bring the heel gently, or the middle of the foot, if you have a sensitive heel, ball of foot, toes down fully by the end of an exhale. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale that foot down. It's one step per breath cycle. Pressing into the palms, engaging the core, feeling each step as you move forward. If you feel wobbly, press into the hands, re-engage the core. And if you fall out, that's okay. Just meet back at the top of the mat in mountain. Fingers are in prayer, pressing into the palms. Watch the fingertips rise. At the top, go ahead and release the hands. Exhale, engage the core, hinge at the hips, bend the knees if you need, another fold. Walk the hands down if you need. And if you have those blocks there, you can place your hands there to help you with your next fold. We're inhaling. You can either press into the palms of the, with your palms into the blocks, into your shins, to wherever you have contact with your hands. Lengthen through the back, press into the heels, hips to heels alignment. And then exhale, bend the knees if you need to one more time. And you can use the blocks again as well to step back or just bring one hand back. So you start to step back. 1, 2, 3 steps back. Bring the feet back, bring the hands. Inhale, shoulders over the wrists, and then we can bring the shins down, untuck the toes. See if you can support the upper body with the arms extended underneath the shoulders. Move the arms up a little if you need to, if you have slightly sensitive wrists. And keep the bottom of the body supported at the tops of the ankles, maybe the shins. Try not to dig too much weight into those knees. You need even distribution of weight with those good supportive shins and tops of the feet. Take a moment here, a nice breath. Draw the belly button towards the spine. Engage your core. Inhaling, we're going to tuck the toes. Lift up the hips. Exhale, press into those extended arms. Bring the hips back to your down dog. Keep a deep bend to the knees if you need. Feet are about hips distance apart. And your head somewhere in between those elbow crooks of the elbows. And you can keep that bend, or you can play with extending one leg and bending the other leg. You can walk your dog, you can cycle out the legs, and we're here for about 5 breath cycles. And if you need to, you can always bring the knees down. You can always come to a comfortable position on the floor with the knees down if you need. Or one more inhale, look to the hands with the eyes, bend the knees deeply if you need, and walk the hands to the back of the mat, to your fold. One more time, bringing the hips over the heels, keeping the deep bend to the knees. Inhale, lengthen for a half lift, and straighten the legs as much as you can. Stick out your imaginary tail back towards the back of the room. Exhale, fold. Keep the bend to the knees if you need. Inhale, bring that center, bring the tailbone down, and walk the hands up. Inhaling, slow roll up or with a straight back, all the way back up to center. Exhaling, hands down, heart center. In our second walking meditation, inhale, lift the right foot, standing weight to that left leg. Exhale the right foot down. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale it down. And as you slowly breathing, 1 breath cycle per step to the top of the mat. See if you can hear the ocean at the back of the throat. And at the top of the mat, looking down at the fingertips, press into the palms, watch the fingertips rise, separating the palms at the top. We're engaging the core and bend the knees, hinge at the hips. Come on down, float on down, walk the hands down. Another fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, step the feet back. Step the hands down. And all the way back for a full high plank this time. Just lengthen from the heels all the way to the crown of the head as you press into those arms, those strong shoulders. Engage the core. Stick the belly button up towards the spine. One more deep inhale. One more deep exhale. And then we're going to inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, press into those arms. Bring the hips back. Make your adjustments at the feet. Maybe the heels come down all the way. Maybe they don't. You can lift up to the balls of the feet. Roll them back down. And make sure those elbows, hopefully, if you can bend them back, and the fingers are splayed. One more deep bend to the knees if you need. We're going to inhale, roll the eyes towards the hands. Exhale, engage the core and fold. We're going to walk the hands to the back of the mat, to that fold once more. Fully exhaled here. Inhale for a half lift. Wherever your hands have contact with, but not the knees. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees if you need. Engage that core. Feel that strength at the center here. Pressing up, coming all the way back up. With the inhale, exhale, hands down, heart center. And just give yourself a moment or two. Hopefully your heart is beating a little bit. You're feeling a little bit warmer. It's a good time for some water. And what we're going to do with the next portion is just our standing balance positions. I'll be moving to the side to give you some perspective. Sometimes I'll change to the front. But the thing to think about is for the next few minutes, we're going to be focusing on really rooting down on the legs. So much so that you could stand here for a while. And when you have your alignment solid and locked in, it's a lot easier to say, stand in line and not feel as if you've extended any knee area or that your lower back is just, not being supported. So you're learning to hopefully stand with a little more stability. So in our mountain position, we're usually about our feet underneath our hips distance apart. So what we're going to think about doing is just standing there in our mountain, roll to the balls of the feet, roll back on the heels like we do when we're warming up, and just notice. Imagine your feet. Are you really kind of rolling out towards the outer edges? Are you rolling in towards the inner arches? Are you rolling back on the heels? Are you rolling forward on the toes? We really just want an all even distribution of weight.
a little closer to the back of the heels, a little closer to being on top of the ankle. Now, once you think about the foundation of the soles of the feet, then let's go ahead and find that center right at the feet. And then we're going to just adjust our stance just a little bit. Step out to the side, just slightly. It's a small step, maybe about 4 inches. Just a little bit, maybe 2 inches if you feel it's really tight around your hips here. We're just moving away from the midline just slightly. So instead of having our feet right underneath our hips, they're just maybe an inch on either side over to the outer portion. Now, you may have felt then the feet go out just slightly. See if you can bring the inner arches down. See what that does to your knees. Are your knees still pointed forward? Are they buckled in? If they're buckled inward, you may need to bring the heels in a little bit, bring the toes in. We're thinking about lengthening through those legs, lengthening through the legs without hyperextending the knees, and I'll show you from the side. So in our mountain, we're standing nice and tall. As we stand out, just a step out to the side, our knees might buckle in, our tailbone might come out some. We're looking at really lengthening through the legs and not hyperextending the backs of the knees, just making sure that we've got even distribution of weight at the feet. And then you're just slightly tilting inward at the ankles, just slightly. That inward rotation of our thighs. And then you should feel that tailbone just really pointing down towards the floor. It'll help to bring the spine into your pelvic area, the ear, over the shoulder, over the hips, over the knees, over the ankles. We're looking towards that, especially as most of the time we have an anterior pelvic tilt at the top and our butt sticks out, our curved back, and that brings a lot of pressure on the head, on the neck, on the upper back, on the lower back. So we want to tuck under the tailbone, lift those legs nice and long, bring those shoulders back and down, bring the chin gently tucked under, and here when the gravity is bearing down on our head, we've got a stronger living structure that can help bear that weight better. So here, just gently tuck the butt cheeks, give it a nice activation, and then relax. See if you can release some of those muscles. So all you're doing is stacking those joints, one on top of the other, without actively holding everything in place. And then once we're there, we're going to bring out our arms out to the side, palms down, and then bring the palms up. And we're really reaching outward. Let me turn to the side. We're really, as if somebody is on either side of us, really reaching those arms out, pulling. And then let's go ahead and exhale, palms down. Palms up, inhale. Exhale, engage the core, palms down. Palms now to the side, thumbs up, inhale up, and stop when you can. Exhale down. See if your fingers, can they touch behind your back? Bring them back up. Inhale up, lift up with the chest. Exhale, float the hand back down. See if you can tap the hands back behind you. Bring the arms back up. Hands down, heart center, engage the core. Gentle tuck of the chin, release the hands up. Thumbs up as we go back up. Hands, palms together. Exhale, hands down, heart center. Engage your core. Inhale, sweep out to the sides. Exhale, hands down, heart center. And this time, see if you can sweep and catch the fingers back behind you. I'm going to turn to the side, maybe all the way back. See if you can catch the fingers, interlacing the fingers. Maybe you're just here. Maybe you can hold on to your wrist, either side of your wrist. Maybe the ankles. Play with that. Notice if there's tension at the shoulder preventing you from holding on here. See if you can relax. You might just have to let the neck gently release up and down with a gentle nod up and down. And then roll the shoulders back and down. And from the side, all we're doing is lifting up, breathing from the sternum, exhaling, releasing. You might find the legs just lengthening, releasing any muscles that aren't needed to hold your body in this stacked, supported, naturally stacked, supported position. Go ahead and release those arms, shake out the wrists, and we'll bring the hands out to the side. Once more, just up, and they may not be above the head, they might be over here, that's okay too. And we're just going to bend the elbows. I'm going to turn to the side one more time. And here we have these cactus hands. And you can play with the positioning, roll in and out of those ankles if you need to, and then reset the center at the feet. Remember to keep the bend to the knees if you need. And here we have our cactus hands. We'll go ahead and bring them up. Exhale. Engage the core, firm up the belly. One more, inhale up. Exhale. Engage the core. Now we're going to inhale, hands up. Just bend the elbows now and grab either one. You might have the forearm only, you might have the wrist, that's okay. Just keep it best you can. Inhale, back up. Switch the elbows and the hands. Notice how your feet feel. Come up to the balls of the feet if you need. Okay, gentle bend to the knees. Make sure you're circulating still at the foundation. Inhale up. Switch those elbows once more. Engage the core. Inhale up. Switch the hands once more. Engage the core. Exhale fully. And then let the arms sweep down. Go ahead and just loosen up at the shoulders. We're going to bring one heel in, bring the other heel toe it in, just slightly back to underneath the hips. Now we're going to gently pivot at the hips. So let me turn around. So we're standing pretty nice and tight with the tailbone directly under us. Now we're going to pivot at the hips and let the tailbone stick out and give ourselves just a little bit of a flexion at the heel, at the hips. And with the feet right underneath us, let's go ahead and feel your hips over your heels like you're in chair. Let's go ahead and bring the arms up. Exhale, engage the core and dip on down. See if you can bring yourself a little further down. Do your knees widen outwards, bring them straight in front. When you slide downwards, notice if the knees knock down. We want to slide downwards with a slight internal rotation. Hips are feeling like they're lowering with the heels going further apart that way. And so you can inhale with your arms still above in your chair. One more deep inhale, one more deep exhale, engage the core. And then let's inhale, start to straighten through the legs, hands down, heart center. And go ahead and shake out the shoulders, roll the neck. And we're gonna come on down. Now here's where you might use your chair, here's where you might use your blocks, but we're gonna come on down to the mat and eventually meet on our knees and our hands. So you might need a blanket down there, you might need the blocks. So for me, I'm just going to use the blocks to walk on down. So bending closer to those blocks. If you need to use the chair, be a little closer to the chair, fold at the hips as we usually fold. And as we're coming on down to the floor, on our hands and our knees or shins. And if you can, you don't have to do this right now, but if you can, imagine being on the floor on your hands and knees. If you need some support, having the blanket nearby as well. So using the blocks to get all the way back down, using the chair, and eventually finding our way onto a tabletop position. We want the tops of the feet, the shins down, and we're just going to press into those arms slightly and then start to bring the hips back. You may need access to the block to bring the hips down, eventually bringing the hips to the heels. If your tops of the feet are really sore, you might just need to have the ankles supported by a folded blanket. and eventually coming into your hips on top of the heels into our hero pose. And just giving yourself a moment. You can be sitting in your chair, but just sitting with that flexion at the hips. You can have your knees at a 90-degree angle right under your feet, right underneath the knees. And just feel the sits bones, that internal rotation of your thighs as you sit upright and engage the core and bringing yourself upright. Then we'll go ahead and come on down to our base bridge position. You could just bring the hips down, roll onto the back. That is safe, easy for you if you would prefer not to use the hips, but coming on down one elbow at a time and meeting in our base bridge position. Just a moment here. Notice how the sacrum, that's that lower back area, that flat part before you get into that little curve there. See how that feels. You should have a nice even support at that sacral area, right at the flat of the lower back there. And then you might have a little bit of space right at that gentle curve. If it's feeling like there's compression, you might need to double up this blanket, roll up a towel, maybe even put a small bolster there. It just depends on how tight that is. But hopefully you're able to bring the back into a nice horizontal position at some point. The knees about hips distance apart, feet not too far from the fingertips if you were to reach down. The heels don't have to touch your buttocks. Excuse me. So as we're laying here in our bridge, just noticing how the neck and the back is feeling. Is the spine aligned with the neck? We don't want the neck curved out to the side. Bringing the arms out to the side. Just allow the knees to roll to one side. With an inhale or an exhale, just move slowly. Just give yourself that first slow range of movement, windshield wipe to one side. If your left hip rolls up off of the floor, that's fine. We want to keep the feet in the same position. You're just rolling onto the right edge of your feet. And your knees are either hovered somewhere in the air, or the top knee might be resting somewhere on the bottom calf. And that bottom right knee, thigh might be lifted in the air, or it might be on the floor. Just depends on how open you are. But just let the body slowly windshield wipe over to one side. Hopefully you'll feel that nice, gentle stretching of this left side of the body, the top portion, as you're windshield wiping to the right. A few breaths, imagining the ocean rolling at the back of the throat. And thinking of coming out with the next inhale, you might need to use your hands to help guide the knees back up as your sacrum returns to the mat and the feet become nice and flat on the soles. Once more, you can wiggle the toes, roll up onto the balls of the feet, reestablish the bridge once more, reset it, make sure your spine and your neck are in one alignment and you haven't rolled too far out of alignment, and we'll windshield wipe over to the other side. You can have the palms down to help guide a little bit of anchoring weight as you bring the knees to slightly lower over to the other side, in which case here is the left side now. And just take the next 3 to 5 breaths. Notice how the body responds in this pose. If you find that you're struggling, then the benefit of the pose is been exceeded, and you can back out, go back in with a little less intensity or a lot less intensity. Hopefully you're finding that release at this top right
leg now, right side of the body. We did a lot of balance work of our standing poses, and all of that requires, while we're delicately supporting the foundation of our torso, supporting the weight of the torso with the foundation of our body, we, kind of forget about how much work the lower body is providing in that very support. So when you do a deep hip opener, such as these windshield wipes, gives you an idea of how hard they've been working, especially if you have a tough time letting go of certain positioning of the muscles. All right, so as we move back, we're going to inhale and gently assist the knees if you need. Bring the knees, the thighs, the sacrum is back onto the mat. And just let the body return to center. And as we come back to our bridge once more, we're going to let the heels kind of pivot outwards, and maybe the toes might pigeon inwards a little bit, and then let the knees kind of move towards each other. We're going to have this somewhat knocked knee position, and sometimes there's enough opening in the hips that your knees will just rest on each other, and that should feel good. If you feel like it's torquing your knee, then you can bring the heels back in and not have the knees resting so much on each other. And they might just be internally rotating slightly as they hover near each other, the knees. But if you can have them touch with the heels outward especially, just give yourself a little bit of internal rotation, specifically right now. And just with the help of gravity, just letting the body sort of relax. Sometimes if it's a new position, if you've been habitually doing something that has shortened your muscles, have kept it from being nice and limber and supple, when you go to move and open up those body parts, you might find that discomfort. You can move through the discomfort and hopefully find something releasing with the next few exhales. And hopefully what you find is just like it's like a sinking of the body, of the joints into its natural positioning. If it doesn't feel natural, if it feels odd, then come on out and come back with a little less intensity. Now, to come out, we're just going to simply roll the weight at the soles of the feet, bringing the knees upwards, the heels slide inward. We have heel to toe alignment once more. Feet are about right underneath our hips. The knees are somewhat pointing towards the ceiling once more. We'll go ahead and bring out the arms nice and long, palms down, splay the fingers, and then bring the fingers together, and then roll the palms up. Then let those arms just relax. We'll take the next moment to exhale one of your legs down. Just inch the sole of the foot down. As you get longer on that leg, you might just need to flex the foot and then see how much you can extend the leg. Your knee might be tented. You'll find more of space at the lower back, but just gently bend at the knee. Maybe you might tap out the knee a little bit. Maybe you might wiggle the toes. And then inhale, bend that knee that you lower just slightly so you can curve out that space at the lower back, and then you can start to lower the left leg a little more, and then slide that left leg down long. Slide the right leg down as well, and give yourself a little bit of time to open up. You might find your lower back opens as you lengthen the legs, and that's okay. Just give yourself some time. You might need to gently bend the knees, bring the legs back up a little bit, and kind of flatten out the lower back. And all you're doing is just letting the lower back and the legs, with the help of gravity, open up and return to our Shavasana on our back. Now for some of us, maybe our tilting of the hips have been so long and habitual that we just have that big space underneath. If that's the case, we might just need to fold up and make some space supported by the towel that's underneath your back. Maybe a little bit of fold to help, just bring a little support lessen that space. Hopefully I didn't, or you didn't bring any folds that are uncomfortable to the back. But again, as you're making your way down and the body is unfolding, gentle small movements, maybe gentle tapping of the legs, pointing of the toes, flexing of the feet, pressing out gently through heels and then releasing. Maybe the knees were pointing towards the ceiling, heel and toes pointing towards the ceiling, and then as you exhale, you just let the knees and the toes kind of roll outward and just relax. If you find that there's still that, deep, like a compression to the lower back, then definitely roll up your towel a little bit more. You might need to roll onto the side and bring more of that mat into a fold, or that blanket into a fold. But get yourself comfortable on the back, whether you have support underneath the lower back or maybe some blocks underneath the knees as well. That might help too. But for the next 5 minutes, you'll be laying down nice and long, closing the eyes, releasing the belly, palms facing up. And just let the body respond in this final Shavasana pose. This is your final resting pose on the back, nice and long legs. And when you hear the 3 bells, we can awaken. And I'll be returning to an upright seated position myself to mind the time while you remain in your laying down Shavasana position until the 3 bells.
bringing the mind back to the body, taking note of sounds outside the room. Noticing how the air enters the nose, how it exits the nose. As you return to your body vessel once more, make any movements, any fingers wiggling, any rocking of the body and limbs, just to come back into the body vessel. And as you reconnect, take a moment to roll to one side, and we'll meet back in a seated position, finding ourselves either in a hero, sitting on your bottom, one leg out in front of the other. Crisscross applesauce is one way I've heard of it. An easy seated position. Or just with your legs out straight in front of you in our staff position. That's fine. We'll be ending class once more with our breath of fire, just as we can practice that. We're also going to have a scalene, just, nice little scalene stretch as we're moving through this last portion of the breath exercise as well. We have a little bit of time. And so I encourage you as you're breathing, yes we do, I encourage you as you're breathing to do that slow, ocean-like breath as we're moving through this last portion of our class, the breath exercise. So with the beginning here, go ahead and sit upright, sits bones, spine right, aligned with our sits bones, sitting up nice and tall, feeling that crown of head lifting with an inhale. We'll go ahead and bring out the hands. Just see if you can touch both shoulders. Exhale. We're going to inhale, release the hands. Exhale, opposite shoulders. Inhale, release the hands, opposite shoulders. Now hold the hands there and feel like they're just hanging onto the shoulders. Open up through the back of the neck. Another deep inhale, breathe into the back of the neck. A gentle tuck of the chin, but keep that space between the chin and the chest. Release the hands, sweep them back. Bring the hands up to the base of the neck, and I'm going to turn around so you can see where that is, where my hands are going here. And just bring the back of the hands right there onto the back of the neck. Your pinky side's right here at the base. And just feel along there if you can. And then bring up the hands. Let the fingers drag along the back. And then keep the knife edge of those fingers right at the base of the skull, underneath the jawline. And then flick them out. Do that one more time. Bring the hands to the back of the shoulders or somewhere at the back of the neck. Start to drag the hands forward, up, and then down the base of the skull, underneath the jawline, and we are flicking the fingers away. We'll do that one more time. Me facing sideways. So you get that good grip of the fingers either at the base of the shoulders there, at the base of the neck, somewhere along here. See if you can get flesh, finger onto skin contact, and let it relax there. And then as soon as your fingers have that nice relaxing grip, just gentle, just start to pull forward those elbows. Bring the knife edge of your pinky hand, the pinky side, and then let the hands just fit underneath the groove of the skull, underneath the jawline, and then flick your hands out. It's a nice scaling, stimulating all of these good areas for your hormones and whatnot. Then let's go ahead and sit with our breath of fire. So, sitting up nice and tall once more. Just repositioning the sits bones. Engage the core. Inhale deeply. Feel that string at the crown of the head lifting. In for a count of 10 first and 20 the second time. And we'll start now. Chin gently tucks. Lift the pelvic floor like you're not urinating anymore. And hold your breath. Release the breath. Exhale slowly. Reposition once more, and we'll do a second round of that. This time 20, and inhaling deeply. Exhale now. Hold. Release the breath. Exhale slowly. Bringing hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining me, Jeani, at the ACC's Community Room for Noontime Gentle Yoga. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.